Hello to all the listeners. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Dylan.
And we would like to thank you for taking the time to give us a listen. And if you do enjoy, please drop a like and subscribe for our weekly podcast, or even check out the clips that we post from each show.
You can also follow us at our Twitter on screen and then tune in each week, Wednesday night, for our weekly podcast streaming at DatDill on Twitch.
Thank you and enjoy the podcast. We are kicking off the St. Patrick's Day the only proper way to do it, which is with a shot. What do you have, Dylan? I
have vodka and orange juice in a double shot glass to balance it out.
Okay, that's fair. That's reasonable. And I, myself, because I have this stuff just randomly laying around, I have a Irish shot which is Jameson Irish cream, and I'm gonna toss it into my good old Guinness right here and down that for mine. Kick off St. Patrick's Day the correct way.
And then, of course, we'll get to the news part later, but this is more about the news than anything else. But
we'll just kick it off the right way, and then we'll get to all the stuff we want to talk about later, which is there's plenty to talk about and get angry about. So let's start the Irish way with a nice drink. Sláinte.
Perfect. And then moving straight on to Guinness. Oh shit, that was way more upstaging than mine.
That was really good.
Mine was already done. I forgot yours was a full glass.
Yeah. Well, it's not a full glass, it's a half glass. Oh, that was so good. I love those freaking things.
You could just enjoy your Guinness slowly, but...
well, now, Dylan, have a Guinness.
Take it all at once.
Ready to go.
Oh, yeah. All right, let me pull up. I want to start with...
Start with the article.
Oh, okay, you did send me this one. I'm sorry. I thought I didn't have this one up.
You want to start with Bears news?
No, let's go through the general first. Is this up to date? I think it's up to date now, right?
Oh yeah, it goes up to date. I checked it because I was the news just broke about AJ Green, which we'll talk about, and it was like updated.
Making a second one?
No. I had to use the second one, some of it, because I drank too much. I thought of the first Guinness,
right?
Because what I did was I poured it into the glass and then I drank it down to where I thought the Irish shot would be at, and it was one of those where it. I think I drank it down too much, so yeah.
Okay.
All right, so kicking off this segment right here, we're going to start obviously with NFL because there's been, free agency just opened a few days ago, and for some teams this is a time of celebration, and for others, quite very obviously our own, it is a time of deep depression and sadness and
ultimately accepting.
Let's just jump right into this. Let's look at everybody else.
Hey, let's look at the good teams. What did fun teams do?
I know. What did teams that actually have a good ownership and run correctly did? All right, so kicking off with the Bills. So I like what I freaking love what the Bills did there with Emmanuel Sanders. Getting Emmanuel Sanders is huge because I was saying it for the longest time. I was not a huge John Brown fan while he was there because he just didn't finish routes some of the times. And then other times, didn't seem like he was it's the same kind of feel I have with Jimmy Graham watching him play for the Bears. It's sometimes I feel like they just are taking a play off and sometimes they aren't. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
He's old though. He's got senior years to catch up on.
Yeah, that's whatever. Fair. But John Brown, I never really was a huge fan of, especially being a number 2 receiver next to Diggs. I felt like they needed a bigger pop there. So I feel like if Emmanuel Sanders can be that, they need, I think that's a great pickup because I think that's an upgrade over John Brown.
Right.
So, and then obviously just go ahead.
No, I think that's awesome because I feel like Emmanuel Sanders has consistently been one of the top number 2s in the league for a really long time. And despite what went on with the Saints anyways last year, it wasn't his fault. He had a corpse throwing him the ball, a corpse that was slowly decaying and still holding on. So I think you still have a lot left.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Sanders too, like one of his biggest things is like his speed. And it's like if you can't throw the ball down the field, like, Josh Allen can, like you're eliminating part of Emmanuel Sanders' game, which makes Emmanuel Sanders Emmanuel Sanders. So like the whole him on the Saints was fun. It was a fun like idea, but the issue is that Breeze's arm, he couldn't throw the ball past 40 yards. So when you have a guy who's a big deep threat and that's part of his game, and that's what makes him Emmanuel Sanders, and then you give him a quarterback that really can't throw the deep throw anymore because it's past father time. Yeah. That's what you get. So I'm actually excited to see this. I think it's an upgrade over John Brown. So I think it's a great signing. And then as you see, the rest of the signings are kind of just maintenance stuff. I mean, John Feliciano, Matt Milano coming back, Levi Wells coming back. They get, Matt Hack, who's a punter that bombs some balls. So that's a good pickup. Again, me and my special teams love me some special teams. So I love a punter who can just bomb a ball and change the where the possession's going to be, because that's huge in a game. People don't realize it. It's something that kind of just gets overlooked. So having a punter there is, that's excellent. And then Daryl Williams is another good pickup for boosting the offensive line to kind of help Josh Allen a little bit more, because it did kind of seem in the playoffs last year that his offensive line kind of didn't produce as well as they should have. So it's good to see them kind of maintaining, but also,
yeah, is that a depth signing or a starter?
I'm sorry?
Is that a depth signing or like a starting signing?
Both of them are starters. Because okay. I remember, I'm pretty sure Feliciano was their right guard, and I think Daryl Williams would be their right tackle. So I think that's just both, continuing to keep that line intact and, healthy moving forward, I think is the big play. But yeah, nothing super noteworthy by the Bills. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, I think, is a great fit, but yeah.
They don't really need too much either, is the thing.
Yeah, and another thing too that kind of flew under the radar is, did you see the news about who the Buffalo Bills were really trying to make a push for?
No.
It was a Rob Gronkowski.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I said that from the beginning. I just didn't really think he was going anywhere else, but it's interesting they tried. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I didn't think he was going anywhere else either. Like, really, at the bottom of my heart, I was like, he's staying with Brady. I mean, he literally got traded to Brady's team the 1 year Brady leaves. So I wasn't expecting it, but oh man, I literally, if you go back to I don't think we have it uploaded, but if you watched our review on the Bills AFC, or was it AFC Championship, right?
Yeah.
Against the Chiefs. Yeah, we have it on YouTube. If you go back to our AFC Championship, I talked about how one of the things I think the Bills needed to improve upon was getting a secondary wide receiver better than John Brown. Bam, Emmanuel Sanders. And then another thing I said too was that I think they should get a good tight end that will be a safeguard for him. And man, it would have been nice to see Ron Gronkowski there, because that really would have filled the hole immediately.
Yeah. I was curious, what's their cap space like?
They're doing pretty well. I feel like they had a decent amount of money available. It was one of those things where I think they were benefiting from having a rookie quarterback being on his rookie contract, or not a rookie quarterback, but a young quarterback being on his rookie contract, because it kind of allowed them the space that you're seeing.
Yeah, that's where you got to go all in.
Yep.
Where it works out. Okay. Yeah, Diggs. Okay. Biggest cap hits. Trevarius White. Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the best corners in the league. One of the best young corners in the league too.
I didn't even see Josh Allen on here.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's because Josh Allen's not making a ton. I mean, he was picked. Yeah.
That's it. His salary this season. That's wild.
It's ridiculous. That's why you do it, though. That's why you spend all the money, is because you try to be good on their rookie deal.
Yeah.
All right. So next team, Dolphins did some things that I'm intrigued by. I don't know if I'm necessarily writing it off as a great offseason. Like Jacoby Brissett, I love Jacoby Brissett. I don't think he gets as much credit for what he does, because he's basically stepped into starting roles just like out of nowhere, like, and done pretty well with them. So him and Tyrod Taylor, who both ended up getting deals actually this year. Him and Tyrod Taylor, I feel like if healthy, are actually good quarterbacks. They just don't end up in the right situations to help them. And so I don't mind Jacoby Brissett being here. It's interesting because Jacoby Brissett is besides Tyrod Taylor, he's like the quintessential backup to step in to start, which again, I don't know if this is like a lack of confidence in Tua, or maybe they're just getting a guy who they know can step in if Tua is unhealthy. but it's, again, it's an okay pick. Malcolm Brown, again, that's more of a depth running back to have another running back there. Adam Pankey, it's not much to write home about. Isaiah Wilson was a weird thing with that. I don't really know exactly what went on in Tennessee. I don't know if did you see anything about him?
Yeah, I mean, I've followed his story a little bit, and just before you go on to quarterback, so like Tyrod Taylor, he's literally my least favorite quarterback to ever watch ever since the playoff game with the Bills. He's so boring, it hurts.
Really?
Yes.
See, I don't know if I've seen enough of him, but I do feel like he gets kind of the raw end of the stick sometimes with these teams he joins and ends up.
He did
like
totally
having
get
to
screwed
start
with like every team.
Yeah,
that's true with like Herbert especially, but yeah, he's just like he's similar to like Trubisky, like doesn't throw anything ever interesting, and if he does, like it's a pretty safe throw regardless. It's just boring football to watch. Maybe he can dink and dunk, but yes, regardless, Isaiah Wilson, yeah, I did follow his little epilogue and his little saga that he went along. So that was interesting. I like the move to trade for him because literally, what do you have to lose on their side?
Yeah.
It's literally just like taking a flyer. So I'm all for it. They obviously need help, and Tua is super fragile. At least we think.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tua hasn't shown to be super healthy for long periods of time. So getting another offensive lineman who was taken in the first round, people forget. So, like, at the very least, you're getting a potential first. Like, somebody saw enough in him to draft him in the first round. I didn't think he was a first rounder coming out of Georgia at the time. I thought he was more of a project than he was like a starter instantly. So I thought it was interesting to draft him in the first round. But the Dolphins previously also drafted that left tackle Jackson out of USC, who also I thought was a project, and they drafted him in the first round. So, I mean, hopefully they're hoping that basically these young guys are able to, they're able to work them in and get them to where they need to be. But Isaiah Wilson's literally 22 years old. He's, was a first round pick, so he's on that rookie deal the last 4 years. So you have a good 3-year trial out of him, with very little on the other end being just a 7th round pick, basically. So I think it was a smart trade.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think about. They literally just were like, first round pick, don't care. Sunk cost fallacy. Who cares? Gone.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's first round picks are so coveted in the NFL, like with trades and everything like that. I mean, just offering 2 first round picks for a star player is like, oh man, we're really, and then they're so coveted, but then all of a sudden you see something like this situation where like I just broke down immediately, and then now a first round pick is traded immediately over to another team for basically nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing with like trading first round picks for established players is also the fact that like they're not on the rookie contract anymore. You're eating a massive contract on top of like possibly 2 younger stars who would be cheap. But I agree, they're overvalued. Like if you actually especially if it's like filling a hole and not just like sure, let's just go for those guys signing, like it's totally worth it. I think there's too much emphasis put on first round picks because they're so, this could happen like literally at any time. Yeah, it's not normal to happen, but it's like it's not a 0% chance at all.
No, I mean, look at, again, I don't want to delve into the Bears too much because we're going to talk later, but I mean, look at the Bears with White, the wide receiver. I mean, that's a high pick that you're expecting to be a home run, and then isn't. I mean, first round picks are just to play, like you just have to get the right player, and that's how hard drafting is, and that's why you see it across the league where these teams get lucky. I mean, that's why a lot of the teams that you look at are kind of, they almost build like with these players that you're like, I can't believe they got these. Like if you look at the Seahawks, for example, with the Legion of Boom, for those couple of years where they were the best defense in the league. I mean, you're talking Richard Sherman, who was a wide receiver converted to a corner, who was a 5th round pick. You're talking Cam Chancellor, who I think was a 3rd round pick. And then I think Earl Thomas was also a 3rd round pick or something like that. He wasn't like a 1st round pick. So like right there, your 3 core guys of your defense, you're taking later in the draft. I mean, that's the type of stuff that happens with these teams, and you end up building off of those home run picks that you get later in the draft. That's why to be honest, that's why it's funny that you watch the Patriots every year, because the Patriots don't give a crap about their first round pick generally. And generally, they're just trading it to get more or accumulate more picks in day 2 and day 3, because they know that they can get a lot of, either guys that will fill a role on the team, or they get a lot of guys in who they think have a lot of potential and they know that they can mold them into a certain player. Like, you're looking at all these guys like Ninkovich at the time when they were winning those Super Bowls. And then you're looking at a guy who recently just went to the Dolphins. And I know that there's some stuff going on with him as far as cutting for salary, but what's the linebacker that we were talking about that they were going to cut potentially from the page? He just came over from the Patriots.
Oh, Van Noy?
Van Noy. That's another guy who they kind of melded into a player that became a really good player, but I guarantee he wasn't a first or second round pick.
Yeah, they definitely take the approach, which is like, I kind of like that too, is like they take it as more of a like darts on a dartboard, and just like better chances, you just have more picks, because they realize it's such a gamble all the time, which is kind of cool to see. But then, like they don't, you're right, they don't really use the first round picks that well. They weren't able to get a wide receiver. They still really aren't able to get a wide receiver. So they had to sign one in free agency. So, I mean, like, yeah, it's cool with lower round picks. Like, I definitely agree with that strategy of going on with like more 3rd, 4th round picks, and they could turn into starters. But I mean, it would work out so much better if they didn't whiff their first round pick. That's all.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, that's, every team feels the exact same way you just said. I mean, you don't whiff on your first round pick, you're having a good draft. But that's the problem is if you do, I mean, then you're hoping that the guys you picked on day 2 and day 3 end up coming through and producing more than the level that they were drafted at, which doesn't happen with a lot of guys. But if you can get a couple of those guys, then that's where you're lucky. But so the draft's a gamble, and that's how it's always been. First round picks are interesting because they're always coveted so highly, but rarely do, there's more often than not do they either become good starters or less than do they become stars, so
and you can't also forget the fifth round option on those is also a big reason why they're so coveted. Let's take a look at the Patriots.
Here we go. So this is a team that is straight up building a very specific type of roster, and it's so interesting to look at because like the Patriots have done this for years, but they've always had Tom Brady, so they always just melded the same exact team around Tom Brady, where you get a great slot receiver, you get a good tight end, you get a good offensive line, and a good running back catching balls out of the backfield. That's basically the Tom Brady offense. And the Patriots have always done that. And then this year, because they have a new quarterback, you can see them very clearly building around a new quarterback in Cam Newton, as well as a potential rookie to come in and take over after Cam Newton next year, which I think the Patriots are on notice to potentially draft a quarterback in the first round, just because I feel like a Mac Jones falls to them at 15. That's, to me, seems like the perfect pick for the Patriots, because it's a perfect sit behind Cam Newton for a year, learn the offense, and then you step into the offense with, 2 new great tight ends, 2 wide receivers that are fast, that are building. So then next year you're good to go.
Dude, if Mac Jones falls to 15, I'm going to be... At this point, I'm fully expecting him to go way higher than that. Especially after we went through and reviewed his tape that one time.
Yeah, it really depends. When you get through the hype of the draft process, and you get closer and closer to the draft, you'll start to see the guys that everybody's more hyped about or talking up more, and then those are the guys more likely to go early. So we'll just have to see what kind of hype is around him when we get closer and closer to the draft. But I wouldn't be surprised if he fell to 15 right here and ended up right in the Patriots' lap to, basically be the heir apparent to the Tom Brady, Cam Newton, offense, which Cam Newton is getting a shot at right now. And again, we're going to kind of go through right now to look at their players. But Cam Newton right off the bat getting a 1-year deal. That's again basically another tryout. Like, hey, we're going to build an offense that you can be successful in based on what we saw last year in his lack of throwing it downfield, more of those quick throws, more of the running QB runs. So what they do, they go out and sign Nelson Aguilar, who's a deep ball threat, as well as a speed receiver. They go out and sign Kendrick Bourne, who's also a speed receiver, who is only 25 years old, so he's got some potential to grow into something. Hunter Henry, who's the best tight end right now, or one of the in the league. He's kind of underrated. He's just below that tier of the Kelce's, Kittles. He's like just below that tier in like the next tier of great tight ends. He's right there. So he's one of the better tight ends in the league. Getting him at like 26 years old for a 3-year deal, I mean, that's huge because if it works out with Cam Newton, great. If it works out with your next quarterback, great. And then you get Jonnu Smith, who's 25 years old. So again, another young, super talented tight end coming right in. So right there, you see 2 speed receivers for Cam Newton, 2 big tight ends for Cam Newton. So you're getting that short throw, power run style offense that you're going to see. So,
which is fun. Like, I'm excited for that. That's like, it was kind of cool to see them run like power runs pretty much the entire year. And then also just, because Cam Newton really couldn't throw, like still just like run the ball the entire time. So this is cool. Like, I'm actually looking forward to this and going back to like trying to run like a 2 tight end set. Obviously, I think Jonnu Smith is more of a blocking tight end and Henry's more catching, receiving. I'm getting that correctly.
I believe so, but they both are super talented. Like Smith can also catch balls pretty well. So, and he's very young, so he's still got some room to grow. So it's a great duo of tight ends because they both do different things very well. And it's not shocking that the Patriots would go out and do that because like with the new offense, the way that the new offenses go, having tight ends that are super talented catching balls out of the backfield as well as being able to block on runs is huge right now in the modern day NFL. And so getting these 2 guys is massive for them being able to either make Cam Newton successful or, in a year help a rookie quarterback that potentially steps in.
But this is awesome too because like obviously they were doing power runs and everything and getting Trent Brown, another good offensive lineman, hopefully he's supposed to be good, at least on this team as compared to the Raiders. But like they always talked about how you would go through evolutions in the NFL and go about things like, it would eventually, when they shifted, towards more like when it's fully receiving, like how it is now, linebackers get lighter and they move around quicker. When it was more power running, you would have like, bigger linebackers and then they get abused more at the pass. This feels like hopefully the Patriots are trying to do something where they're getting ahead of the curve. And because things are so heavily geared towards like hybrid linebackers and everything, this is the counter to it. So if this works out really well, and it's actually gonna be really, really fun to watch because it's going to be power line. It's going to be power like tight ends, power O-lines, Cam Newton, obviously, and just literally run the ball down all of their throws because they're lighter linebackers, they're lighter safeties. They're all based on short passes and the passing game. If this is the counter to that and that's like the next evolution, it might not be because there's so many rules that are heavily favoring it anyways that it's probably still going to come out on top. But this is fun. I'm like, this will be really fun to watch. I'm going to look forward to watching them next year.
Yep. And then throw in, scroll down a little bit and you throw in a couple other players like Trent Brown getting in the mix. You want to scroll down a little bit just to... What's the question?
What's up? What about Dank? Thanks for the follow. I just saw that pop up on the side. Yeah. How you doing? Hello.
There you go. But yeah, and then you look down here, a couple of picks. So getting Trent Brown back for basically nothing again was kind of odd. But like again, that's boasting their offensive line. Then they get a couple of guys that just are very like, oh, did he get? Oh, I didn't even realize Calvin returned. We're just
talking. This either.
Yeah, that must have just happened. That's wild. I mean, the Patriots are gonna be good next year. It's wild how a year changes because you also have to realize they're getting all their guys back. Like they're getting, I think Chung sat out. Pretty sure. What was that? What's the?
Oh yeah. So the Dolphins are so dumb for Van Noy. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. He was a defensive captain too.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about getting rid of the captain of your defense with a defensive coach who is developing this team. That their defense played very well last year with your 2 ridiculous corners and Xavier Howard and the guy coming over, I can't remember his name, but the guy coming over from Dallas. And then all of a sudden you just get rid of the captain of your defense for no reason whatsoever. It's just makes no sense, but lucky for the Patriots, here he comes right back home.
He probably signed pretty cheap too, didn't he?
It's got to be. There's no way that he was an expensive deal. I don't know if they're going to show you right there.
This literally probably just came out in the past 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I've been checking pretty much all day.
Yeah, I've checked all the way up until we started this podcast. So
it was 2 years for 12, Dank said.
Wow, that's so cheap because it was like a 10 or 11 mil a year. for the Dolphins. Man, that's wild.
Really?
Oh yeah,
my God.
Was,
so what? The Dolphins are just eating that cap too?
I guess. Well, they saved $10 million cutting him, like under the cap. But yeah, it was one of those where they signed him to a 4-year. It was like a 4-year, $42 million deal or something like that. And it was like $10 million a year. He was like I said, he was the captain of their defense, a young upcoming defense that was playing very well with all their new signings. Plus, you have who's the coach down there again? I know he's a defensive minded coach. You definitely
Brian
Flores, who came in and basically changed the culture and actually made them into a really solid team. It's wild that they let him go, but again, the rich get richer here with the Patriots, and they not only do they get Matt Judon, who's a very underrated pass rusher in the league, one of the best at just purely getting to the quarterback, and then you get God, I can't not pronounce that name, Devon Godchow, something like that, who's a good young nose tackle. I think he actually came over from the Dolphins too, if I remember correctly. So that might be another player from the Dolphins, but they stole. But Henry Anderson from the Jets coming over is more of a depth player. Justin Bethel down there re-signing. That's more of a depth player. Jalen Mills, who kind of is a safety corner hybrid, so that gives them a little bit of versatility in utilizing him. So yeah, it's just a wild offseason for the Patriots. Plus they get back Chung, plus they get back Dante Hightower. It's amazing what they're able to do in literally a year turnover.
I think so. Justin Bethel was a contract stealer, only good for special teams.
Yeah. 3 years, $6 million. I mean, but again, one of the things that the Patriots have actually always done is kept their special teams players and like paid them. And I mean, that's why they have one of the best special teams in the league every year. So it's not surprising. But yeah, the Patriots had a great offseason and are going to be, again, one of the top teams in that division next year.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, that's really funny too. I know that's
wild.
new because that would have blown up everywhere. It came out 19 minutes ago. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, we were probably just heading onto the podcast.
Round comp pick for letting Kyle Van Noy go to Miami for a season. Now they have him back and the pick for 2021.
God, come on. It feels like the Rob Gronkowski deal to the Bucs, where everybody was like, I can't believe the Bucs got Rob Gronkowski from the Patriots. And it was like, yeah, but that guy wasn't going to play football. And then suddenly he turned a player who wasn't going to play football into a pick. like that's what happened.
I had to look at this because of the comments, because I knew this was going to be super salty.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those where I'm just like, you were doing everything right. You were doing so well down there in Miami. And then suddenly nothing. Suddenly dumb pick. And then, like I said, the offseason was kind of, I mean, I was all right. Like, it was, so far there hasn't been anything spectacular for them, but yeah.
We back Pats Nation. That's awesome. That's so funny. Okay. All
right. Who we got next?
The Jets. Whatever.
Jets, whatever. I mean, the Jets are bringing in a whole new regime. So this is, them building for the future. I like them getting Corey Davis. He's 26 years old. Carl Lawson, who I think is also 26 years old too. That's a great signing. Carl Lawson's, again, one of the most underrated passer rushers in the league. And Corey Davis is one of the better wide receivers in the league, standing, I think, at like 6'3". So that gives you a big target for whatever quarterback's about to step in, which is most likely going to be Zach Wilson. So, and then Gerard Davis is, 1 year, $7 million deal. It's more of a rental tryout. Let's see how you do in our new defense that we're bringing out. And then Marcus May, they obviously want to get a contract done with him for at least the next few years, because he's been a really good player for them and probably one of the only highlights of their defense. So besides Quentin Williams. So
yeah.
All right, AFC North. Let's bring it on. Ravens. So the Ravens kind of did a lot of maintenance work here. They got Josh Oliver, who was more of a secondary, third, tight end coming off the bench. What's the question over there?
Oh, do you think they'll still draft Wilson and flip Darnold on draft night like Arizona did with Rosen?
Yeah, I feel like it's inevitable at this point, because they bring in a whole new coach or new coaching staff, and Sam Darnold's about to be done with his contracts, and it's one of those where I feel like they could get a second round pick for him, going to the right team. So it's one of those, like, because I mean, even the Patriots, for example, we were just talking about the Patriots. The Patriots could be a team that steps up and is like, hey, we could take Sam Darnold for a year and mold him into our defense, or just any team that really thinks that he could develop into it. Because I don't think Sam Darnold's broken. Like, I feel like he's fixable. Because I feel like him being on the Jets for so long with Adam Gase, who's been god awful as an offensive coordinator / coach, and then having no talent around him to help him out. I don't really know if that's all Sam Darnold and like he's broken. I think it's more of he could be fixed with the right coaching staff. So I still think that they'll find. I don't know if they flip him on draft night. They definitely are drafting Wilson 100%. I almost feel like that's a given, but just I don't know like what's telling me that. I'm not seeing anything specific. It's just one of those where I think with a whole new regime and Sam Darnold hasn't worked out last couple of years. Like I said, not really his fault entirely, but it hasn't worked out last couple of years. So I think they end up making the move to get Wilson and build upon Wilson as their future. And then I think they flip Sam Darnold, whether it be on draft night or after draft night for the next draft for like a second or third round pick. So
yeah, what do you think about Justin Fields? If Zach Wilson just like leapfrogged him.
Yeah, Justin Fields, and I am an Ohio State fan. I'm a diehard Ohio State fan, watch every game. I don't know if Justin Fields, to me, is ready to jump in and start on any team. And I think like the Jets need you to jump in and start because they're like rebuilding. And I don't think Sam Darnold's going to stay. So they don't really have a quarterback. And it's not like they've signed a veteran quarterback. So I think and that's another thing too with the Jets is they haven't signed any veteran quarterbacks to be like a backup or like an option for them. So that to me tells me that they're going to spend that draft pick on a new quarterback. So that's, but I just one of those where, yeah, I don't know. It's like, like I said, I just think the Jets are going to continue with Wilson, and I think they're going to flip Darnold at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. It's all up in the air right now because everything's pretty much bullshit at the moment because the draft is just like up to the draft and free agency and all this like talk is BS because teams are just telling you what they want you to hear so that way they can further whatever their point is. But them not signing a veteran quarterback leads me to think that they're going all in on drafting Wilson.
Is Geno Smith still there?
No, I don't think so.
I forgot where he went to. Yeah, never mind. The Ravens. What I still don't see on here is a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's in Seattle. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's right. Yeah. I feel like I did hear that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's who was going to start after Russell Wilson was traded to the Bears.
Yeah. All right. We'll get to that sadness later. Yeah. I don't know if Baltimore is planning on spending a pick on the draft, and that's why, like, there's a couple wide receivers maybe that they like in the draft, and that's why they're not really worried about getting one right now in free agency. Or there's so many wide receivers right now available in free agency. Maybe because Juju Smith-Schuster would be a solid pickup for them. Probably the best pick for them, maybe him or Kenny Galladay. I feel like those are the two that I would go for. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Might be going to the Giants.
Yeah, I did see that, but yeah, so I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe Baltimore is just staying quiet on the wide receiver because they either have plans to sign one later, or maybe they just because the other thing too is they could be waiting because they're not that desperate. I mean, they're a very good team. They could be potentially just waiting until the free agency market kind of dies down in order to get those wide receivers that are kind of left over on maybe lesser contracts because they hadn't signed already.
Yeah.
So that, or I think they enjoy but they like certain receivers in the draft that maybe could fall to them in the first round, and that's why they're staying put.
Yeah.
But I will say that getting, again, more maintenance signings, re-signing a bunch of players, but I do think that getting Kevin Zeitler was huge because their guard play in Baltimore has been kind of iffy. I mean, they've drafted some young guards lately, but they not really have shown out to be a, a good starter. So getting Kevin Zeitler is huge for them because that brings in a great guard. Yeah, exactly. When Yanda retired, that kind of killed their offensive line. And then the other thing too is now not only do you have that issue where they didn't really have guard play, but you also have the problem that they have the guy I was talking about, Orlando Brown Jr., who was their right tackle, and that was their two perfect tackles. But then when he had to step into left tackle, now he wants to get paid like a left tackle and he wants to play left tackle. So now they're stuck there where maybe they may have to trade him. So they not only do they need guards, but they need a tackle. So getting Kevin Zeitler really definitely helps to secure that off or kind of get their offensive line better, at least immediately, and fill a hole on that offensive line that's slowly developed.
Yeah, I was a fan of your at least a while ago, the whole flip trade Allen Robinson for Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I said that they should have done like a straight up trade where it's just they offered Allen Robinson, especially right now. If they're not going to get a deal done with Allen Robinson, he already said he's not signing the tag. Flip him for Orlando Brown right now. Get yourself a left tackle who's 25 years old playing at a Pro Bowl level and sign him to a massive deal for an extension that lasts whatever rebuild you're about to go through with the Bears, which we'll talk about it later again. But that would be a great pickup for the Ravens too, to get Allen Robinson, slide him right in there. Maybe they're still, like I said, the Ravens are probably signing these players right now, trying to fill holes. And then wide receiver, I think they're going to address either draft or free agency or trade later. I think they're waiting
for the scraps.
Yeah. Well, waiting for whoever's left. All right. So Bengals getting a little bit better here. So Bengals upgrade a little bit at corner. They spent a lot of money last year too at corner, and that really didn't pan out as much as they had hoped. So now they try to fix that again by getting Awuzie from Dallas coming over. He's a good secondary corner, and then you get Mike Hilton, who's more of a slot corner, coming over from the Steelers. Both are younger guys, 26 years old each, I think, honestly. 26, 27, somewhere in that range. So those are two great fill-in spots for them to build a little bit more depth in that secondary there. And then the big signing, I think, for them, obviously, is Trey Hendrickson. Had like 14 sacks last year for the Saints. One of the best in the league last year, stacking the quarterback and rushing the quarterback. So massive signing for them. He's also only like 25 years old. So getting him super young again to kind of help bolster that defense, hoping that when you get what's his name? What's the quarterback? Burrow coming back, that you have a team around him that can at least compete.
Yeah, and protect him so he doesn't explode and become worthless. As a super
and I love Joe Burrow, and I think Joe Burrow could be one of the top probably 6 quarterbacks in the league if he's playing at his peak. But I think you have to actually, give him help in offensive line stuff and everything. But no, so that was the only thing that was kind of weird is you don't see any offensive help except for Brandon Allen, who was just a returning player. But
I mean, who are they? They're supposed to still draft Sewell, right? That's like the projected. That's the pipe dream. They really hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Penei Sewell is probably going to them. I would assume so. I mean, I want to say that he played some right tackle in college. I can't remember exactly at Oregon. They could because they have a tackle right now already, Jonah Williams, that they drafted from Alabama. But I feel like one of them could move to right tackle, and then you'd have your tackles set for the future, which is huge. So I guess that's true. I guess they are planning on probably signing Penei Sewell. Maybe they'll shock everybody and do something ridiculous.
Like no skill players is what you're saying too. Like no skilled players on the side.
Exactly. No wide receivers, especially losing AJ Green, who again, I understand he wasn't spectacular, but if he came back healthy and was happy, he could play well. So, whatever. I mean, it's, they're at least they're doing something. There's a couple corners, good tight end or good defensive line help. They're getting there.
All right. And the alternative bandwagoning team has not really done too much either.
Well, you say that, but what they did was upgrade the 22nd pass defense in the league with John Johnson, who's one of the best safeties in the league and one of the best young safeties in the league.
Where is he from? I don't really know much about him. Where's he from?
He's from the Rams. He was one of the captains of their defense.
Okay.
So that tells you anything. He was one of the captains alongside Sam Darnold, Aaron Donald. Yeah, right. Yeah, and then Delpit, who was Delpit's an interesting pickup Yeah, they're really deep now. But that Delpit was an interesting pickup because he was the best safety his sophomore year, and then I think his junior year he came back and wasn't that great, and people were questioning whether he wanted to play football even, or if his heart was in it. But I mean, if he comes back playing like he can, he'll be a great pickup right there at free safety. And then you plug in John Johnson as strong safety, and man, you have one of the deepest and probably one of the deepest safety cores that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and so I guess their issue pretty much going into the playoffs is that they were playing up pretty hurt on defense, at least in their secondary.
Yeah, they were playing hurt, and then they also just their secondary wasn't spectacular. Like didn't play spectacular last year. But you throw John Johnson in, who's a leader in the locker room, who's a captain on the defense for the Rams, and who has been one of the best safeties in the league the last few years, and who's only again 20, I think it's like 24, 25 years old. So again, you're signing a really young safety to step in and be a leader on that defense and that secondary, and it's it's huge.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's what I mean. It was a shocking signing because I know who John Johnson is because I've seen him play, and he's a very, very talented safety. So it was one of those where I was like, one of the issues that they had in Cleveland was their secondary wasn't spectacular, but then you throw that out there, and yeah, it's a great pick or great signing, I feel like, and it kind of went a little underrated. It kind of like didn't get talked about as much. It was like, yay, the Browns signed John Johnson. Wow, that's a great signing. And then everybody kind of like changed lanes because it's free agency and everybody is focusing on everything else. But that was a great signing.
Yeah, not like a blockbuster fun signing, but just like oh yeah, of course. And anyways, the Cam Newton just got re-signed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much how it went. Yeah.
The leader of men team.
Steelers doing, I don't know,
their best.
They signed Big Ben.
Yep.
They got Big Ben.
Spread that money out a little bit.
Yep.
Captain Fat Fuck, leader of men.
God, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they get Zach Banner, who they've randomly, I think last year it was like this weird thing where they told Zach Banner that he was their guy moving forward at right tackle, even though Zach Banner's like not that talented. They've lost everybody in the last 3 years and are trying to they're like probably the worst ever edition of one last hurrah for a player that I've ever seen in my life. It's just like the Saints last hurrah. They signed like Emmanuel Sanders. They spent a bunch of money to get Malcolm Jenkins, who was their old safety, who played well, and they try to go all out. And then it's like the Steelers are like, all right, we're going to get rid of our running back. We're going to get rid of our wide receiver. Our center retired. Our left tackle retired. Like, it's just so bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. And then the Holy Christian Texans, the Church of.
Oh yeah. The team that is like trying their absolute best to hold on to a quarterback that obviously does not want to play for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do they do hey, Deshaun, we really are changing lanes. We're helping you out. We have made some great signings. We've signed Tyrod Taylor. We signed Mark Ingram, and we got you Andre Roberts.
Yeah. What more do you want?
Just amazing.
Yeah.
I got Marcus Cannon, who's a solid right tackle, but again, nothing spectacular. Farrell Brown, backup tight end. Andre Roberts, depth wide receiver. Mark Ingram, good running back, but probably shouldn't be your bell cow. Tyrod Taylor, built-in backup running or backup quarterback.
Their head coach was so bad at defending why he wouldn't trade them. Why? Because he's a Texan. I know that. That was my favorite. They are the king so far this year of signings of just players that you just don't really care about, and they're like a 1 year. Look at everything's like 1 year. Like it's just there's some average player you kind of forgot about, like a Mark Ingram or whatever. Like he's going to the Texans. Okay.
No, Justin McCray's here for 2 years though.
Oh my god!
I didn't realize they made that many.
Who's worse off? I haven't really been
paying attention that much to the Texans because they're just kind of bleh.
Yeah, they okay. The part that pisses me off about them is that they're clogging the feed. When I'm going through looking for blockbuster signings, there's stupid signings like this, like Vernon Hargraves and whatever else, just boring.
But, you know what, Dylan? Christian Kirksey's really going to change that defense around.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to burn it to the ground.
It's terrible.
Probably. Who's worse off right now, Chicago or Houston?
Houston, because at least we have a defense that will win us probably more games than we should. This team doesn't even have a defense. Like, I mean, look at their defense right now. We're looking at it right now. I mean, you have Grugier Hill, who's a depth linebacker, Kirksey, who's past his prime, and his prime wasn't that spectacular. Terrence Mitchell, whatever. Vernon Hargraves comes back, great. He's like a slot corner. Tavir Thomas, don't even know who you are, buddy, but congrats, you're back. Terrence Brooks, don't know who you are, but hey, another backup safety, might as well. It's just a whole lot of like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. No, I think at least the Bears are, in their natural place of having no suitable quarterback and an otherwise complete team around them, but the Texans have a complete quarterback and no team.
Well, and here's the other thing too: is who's worse off, Chicago or Houston? Houston to me they're definitely worse off simply because at least if the Bears go into a full rebuild in a year, which is inevitable at this point, it feels like, at least the Bears will have pieces to trade and to like accumulate draft picks or players that they want to build upon. The Texans don't have anything. I mean, they got rid of everything that they could have traded away potentially while they were trying to rebuild. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Chicago could sell at least and get rid of all of their players. I mean, they could trade Mack for probably a first round pick. I don't know if it'll be a current first round pick that year, but it's probably a future. And then you could probably get at least a second at the very max for Eddie Jackson, depending on how well he plays this year.
Oh my God.
And then Kyle Fuller and Akeem Hicks leave, and they're off your cap. And then you sign Roquan Smith to a massive deal. You sign
Danny Trevathan will be off the books by then, right?
Yeah, well, he's got like 2 years left, so technically no, but I mean, they could probably cut him for a little cap hit. I don't know. We'll get more into Bears talk later because I definitely want to hit on the Bears talk when we get to it. I think when we get to the Bears on here, we'll probably rant about the Bears for quite a bit. But yeah, definitely the Bears better off than Houston. I don't know what Houston's doing. So, but let's go to the next team, which is the Colts, which...
Oh my God, that's it?
We've talked about Carson Wentz quite a bit, so I don't want to go too in-depth into it. So what I will say about this is Carson Wentz, if he's playing anywhere near his old self, is a great signing for them because they get a quarterback that finally can come in and play behind a good offensive line with good talent around him and exceed, potentially expectations that people have. So I think it's a great signing because at the end of the day, they're not eating all of his cap like Philly is. So they can always get rid of him eventually, or even just have him on the roster as a backup if they decide to get a different quarterback that's better. So I think it's a great signing. And then Marlon Mack, or I think it's a great trade. And then getting Marlon Mack back for 1 year, $2 million is a steal because he, when healthy, is a really good running back. So.
Yeah, what's interesting, the Colts still have like $40 million in cap space. So why didn't they really go out and get anyone? Are they just like waiting for that second, third round of free agency? I mean,
yeah, I think Ballard's a very smart GM, so I'm not like shocked by that. But I do want to comment on something because I do 100% agree. I think they should just get rid of Hines. I don't know why Hines is there too much. Quentin Nelson's contract is up in a year or two, I believe, because he's got that 5th year option that they could pick up because he was a first round pick.
They do need to save space for his extension, though. Yes.
Oh, yeah, they have to. I mean, they're already talking about well, here's the other thing, too, that you have to look out for is paying a left guard a massive contract is different than paying a left tackle a massive contract. So the whole talk of the Colts potentially, because Costanzo retired, putting Quentin out at left tackle, that's a massive upgrade in contract that they also have to think about if they're going to make that move. So I mean, you're talking, he's going to get 11-12 million a year at guard and then switches over to tackle and gets nearly 12 or nearly 20.
Other than that, not much going on with them though. Interesting up and coming team, possibly, I'm sure.
Okay, so a couple things I'll say about the Jags off the bat. They're going to end up drafting Trevor Lawrence. So he's their quarterback. So that's what I'm going into thinking about when I look at this team. What I think about this team is I think that with a new coach like Urban Meyer, and listen, again, as an Ohio State fan, I know Urban Meyer for the last few years. I've had to watch him. I never liked Urban Meyer simply because I thought he was too arrogant and I thought his teams always slipped up. under Urban Meyer at Ohio State, all of his teams slipped up at some point during the season and lost a game. And I don't like that. I don't like that he like,
okay.
That scares me for the NFL. Like because it's a 16-week thing where you're not the man. Like you have to, like it's a team. Like these guys, you have to show respect to them. You can't just be like the, leader of the entire college team. So I don't really think that he's going to be super successful at Jacksonville. There's a certain way that he could, and it's if he drafts well and gets the right guys in. I just am worried about that. But looking at this, what you can see is Carlos Hyde.
Wait, does he have executive powers?
He's probably not, but probably close. Like I would assume it's a very similar situation to Bill. For
the Texans,
Bill O'Brien, right?
Oh yeah, O'Brien.
The way he kind of had some executive. Yeah, there we go, Bill O'Brien. I don't know why we were just playing dumb. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if he'll be successful because one of the things that makes college coaches sometimes great that makes them unsuccessful in the NFL, like I think is the case with Nick Saban too, is Nick Saban and Urban Meyer are fantastic recruiters, and that's not what you can do in the NFL. I mean, yeah, you can recruit free agents, but that's not the same as recruiting college kids, and that's also not the same as drafting. And that's why you saw Nick Saban kind of fail when he was in Miami. Yeah, maybe the situation wasn't perfect, but that's kind of why you saw him fail. And then that's kind of why you see, why I'm not really sure if Urban Meyer is going to succeed.
And okay, and you mentioned Tom Coughlin. Isn't he gone?
Vice president of football operations.
Okay, he was fired. Oh, thank God.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought he was.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I really I'm all for like a new regime. Regime. Oh my God.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm all for like a new regime. Don't hold on to like a dead weight like him because that was going to be really boring. So good to see he's actually gone.
Anyways, so after all that talk, what I'll do is just kind of going over quickly these signings. So you get Carlos Hyde, who's a running back who guess where he went to college. So yeah, he brings him in because he knows him well and he can play him. Carlos Hyde's always one of those running backs that you want as your secondary running back. Tim Boyle leaves Green Bay for Jordan Love. Jordan Love is definitely backup. I mean, they're definitely getting ready for Jordan Love to take over. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers' contract is going to expire before that does and they pick up the 5th-year option, or if Jordan Love will take over in like his last year and Rodgers will be traded. That'll be something interesting to watch for the next 2 years, that dynamic. But
traded to the Bears. 1 year.
Listen, Dylan, we're not going to get that lucky.
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Like I said, that's something to watch right there for the next 2 to 3 years. That's them grooming him slowly into the starting quarterback that they want him to be.
Man, imagine he sucks. Oh, ooh. This August, save this for later. Spoiler, no, cover.
I had done.
Yeah.
Okay. So wide receivers, they get Agnew from Detroit, who is a great special team / wide receiver. I'm pretty sure he was a converted corner. Like I think he was a corner in the NFL. So that's an interesting signing, but he's a good special teamer too, so that helps. Philip Dorsett, just speed. That's all you got to say. Speed. Marvin Jones was a very good veteran receiver coming from Detroit again. Cam Robinson, good left tackle, so they're trying to keep him. Tyler Shatley is a good depth guard, so they're trying to keep him. Smoot, another good defensive end who is good at run stopping, so they're trying to keep him as well. Tyson Alalu, I think I said that actually pretty well. He's coming in over from the Steelers. He is older, so he's more of a veteran signing to kind of help the young guys in that defensive line because they have some awesome players. I love Josh Allen. He's one of my favorite. But yeah, and then Josh Allen was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft too, defensive end. So that gives them a little bit of veteran leadership there to learn from. Malcolm Brown is a nice, good depth signing. Obviously, Robertson Harrison, we loved him over here. He's a great pass rusher. I'm sad to see him go.
He's so good and he deserves that contract, and they couldn't keep him on cheap for depth and everything. But like
100%, no player
he carried some games.
Yeah, no player deserves that contract better because he's such a hard worker and then he's a great pass rusher. So kudos to them. Then they get Sidney Jones re-signing, which is a good re-sign. And then Shaquille Griffin is really their biggest signing, who's a great one corner in the league. So, they're making a lot of moves that are interesting. They're building for the future. I can see him getting players that he wants in, as well as getting some guys to work for the future. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be an interesting team to watch for the next couple of years, because really it depends on whether Urban Meyer will be able to succeed. So, yeah, and I also agree. I'm surprised. I guess the Jacksonville does have DJ Chark, though, who's really good and young. And then they've also got, I think D.D. Westbrook's still there. And didn't they get Chenault, too, who's a slot guy? So I think wide receiver, they're a little okay. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the Jets broke the bank for Juju, because they definitely need wide receiver help. But yeah, I think Jacksonville's better off okay in that department. Yeah, he didn't have a great year last year. But then again, that was, he had frickin' what's-his-face throwing to him.
Minshew. And then, right?
Yeah, Minshew, but then they benched Minshew because he was playing too well. And then who was the other quarterback? It was the one that we signed for the Bears for, like, he was going to be the bridge quarterback to help Trubisky, and then he played 4 games. Huh?
Glennon? Oh yeah, it was Glennon. He was there last year. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Tyler Bray. Oh, that's the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. What do you mean? Tyler Bray, QB1.
Yeah. Starter quality. I mean, come on. Did you see that one pass that he threw last year?
That's my favorite. That's a side note. That's my favorite. My favorite meme account on the Chicago Bears subreddit is that there's a guy who's like Tyler Bray, QB1, I think is his account. He's on there all the time, like a super fan. Hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah, exactly. It's literally Caleb Haney part 2. Hey, the Caleb Haney almost won a playoff game, so don't speak some respect on that name.
Dude, did you see? Speaking of Tyler Bray, did you see the Instagram that he posted of him like in a field that's in the middle of 2 streets or something? Like in the middle, it looks like it's in the middle of a town. He's just like back at the grind, and it's like him throwing passes to a stationary coach. Just like, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, you might be the starter. You might as well.
Yeah, gotta get ready. QB3.
QB4 at this point. If they get another, they're gonna bring in another one. Let's get Mike Glennon back. Played pretty well last year.
Yeah, you can still kick the tires on him.
I'm pretty sure a quote out of my mouth last year was, "I would rather have the Mike Glennon Jaguars offense than our offense." I love that throw wasn't even accurate. I hate it. I'm sorry.
The coach has to step to the side. This is like you have all the control over what you're showing people, and this is the one you have.
Coach had to move.
You think maybe he was aiming for the truck that was in the background?
And the moving truck hit him in stride.
The counting from the Lake Michigan.
Oh, God, I'm dead. I can't.
Like, where the fuck is this dude?
Oh man, if Tyler Bray somehow sees this, I'm sorry, man. I love you. Please don't hate me.
Where are we right now? This is like in the middle, like it's in the middle of a small town. Like it's cool, but what? You're an NFL quarterback, technically, on a technicality. Like, where is this?
Technicality.
Free advertising for Panel Passing Academy.
All right, we can't do this, Dylan. We can't make fun of him this much.
I want to learn more about Tyler Bray. Oh my god, he's like a showpiece for them. They had like multiple posts because he went there.
All right, Dylan. That's so it. Cool. We got to call it.
Yeah, that's Bray. Really cool.
All right, moving on to the Tennessee Titans. Love of God.
Okay, good.
Oh man.
The tits.
All right, Titans. Some interesting players. Bud Dupree was a great signing for them. That's a good pass rush. They needed pass rush. I was talking about them. If you actually, now I got to change my mock draft after we got to come out with a mock draft next week, because of free agency. Because I said in my mock draft that I had Tennessee taking a pass rusher, and it was because I thought that they needed pass rush. And what do? They go out and sign Bud Dupree, who's a great pass rusher. So they answered my own recommendation.
The worst pass rushing team behind the Seahawks. Yeah, I'd buy that.
Exactly, which is why they needed to. I wouldn't even be surprised if they did go out and draft another pass rusher in the first round, because again, that's who I had mocked to them. I think I had I don't know if it was the guy. I think I had the guy from Georgia, the defensive end from Georgia, going to them. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah. And then Janoris Jenkins, He's been a good corner in the league, so it's a decent signing. Kind of help with the depth. They get a corner, hopefully, that at least produces more than freaking Malcolm Butler produced there. And then Autry coming over from the Colts is a great signing because he's always a consistent veteran, and the rest of it's just kind of not really noteworthy, more depth guys. Yeah, not a lot of big names, nothing that's gonna kill you except for the Bud Dupree and the Jaylen Brown re-signing. Both are good plays, but yeah, they needed pass rush help desperately, and they got it in Bud Dupree. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted one still. But all right, next team on the list, you got the Broncos, who've been a little quieter but they've the one thing I will say is they did sign Ronald Darby, who definitely helps to fill in the holes there at corner that they wish they could get more production out of. And then franchise tagging Justin Simmons was a must. So.
Now favorites for Deshaun next to San Francisco. That would be a very interesting team.
To where, the Broncos or to the...
For the Broncos, yeah, because I feel like obviously with Fangio, they have the defense together, the offense.
And the wide receivers. I mean, they have the guy... You know what's sad too is I watched a ton of film of their wide receiver. Yeah, exactly. I forget what's that wide receiver's name that's there. I can't remember. He's from SMU. They drafted him like a year or two ago. And I have watched so much film on this guy, and I was like, please get drafted by the Bears. And then we didn't. I forgot who we drafted, but it wasn't him. Courtland Sutton. Yeah, I said draft Courtland Sutton because I loved him coming out of college. And I was wanting him to go to the Bears because I felt like he could fall to them. And of course they didn't get him, but the Broncos got him. And then they ended up getting the wide receiver out of Alabama. Again, name is escaping me, but he's super talented wide receiver. And then they get
the Broncos are like so far out. Yeah,
Jerry Jeudy. And then who's the slot receiver? You can help me out with the third.
I'm just pull up the depth chart at this point.
The slot receiver out of Penn State is Hamler. There we go. I helped myself out. They get Hamler in there, who I loved watching him at Penn State because he was such a utility guy that could do so much. He was kind of reminds me of like a Tariq Cohen. He's just like a little taller, but so he's like a guy that you could just use all over the place in your offense. So that they're a great place for a guy like Deshaun Watson to end up at. But I doubt that's going to happen because it's the Broncos, and I don't know. Deshaun Watson, is he over the height of 6'5"? I don't think so. No, he
might just get there.
He's not a super tall, lanky, nothing quarterback.
He's a very short 6'2".
Yeah,
so it's not gonna work out.
No, can't happen. Anyways, so the Broncos, I doubt it. They're probably gonna. Who's a quarterback in this draft? They'd probably sign. I mean,
Trask.
Trask. That's what's gonna happen with Denver. They're gonna get that's 100%. Lock it in. Trask is getting drafted by Denver. Yeah, Kellen Mond from Texas A&M. So next team we got is the Chiefs, which I am interested in what they're gonna do moving forward with the rest of free agency. Because I am shocked by the fact that they cut both of their tackles. I get that they're not healthy, and I get that they haven't been super healthy, but when they are healthy, they're two of the best tackles. Kyle Long signing makes sense if you already have depth. Like, if you want Kyle Long for depth, I think that's a great signing this year. But if you're signing him because you want him to be a very productive starter, is an interesting signing considering you just went through the Super Bowl where you had no tackles whatsoever. And the Chiefs very quickly were the example of why you need to sign offensive line and have an offensive line moving forward. So I don't really understand that. Joe Thuney, though, massive signing, great signing. Joe Thuney played I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he started and played in every single game for the Patriots since 2016. That's what I'm saying. It's like them trying to fill a hole with a player that isn't good enough to fill that hole. And that's exactly what is happening with Kyle Long. But Joe Thuney, though, great signing. Spectacular signing because he is a very, very consistently Pro Bowl level guard who is only 27 years old. So that 5-year contract will only put him at the age of 32, which we're seeing now, especially with how healthy he's been in the offensive line. I mean, look at Williams and the left tackle for 49ers, signing a deal basically until he's the age of like 38, 39 years old. So offensive line having a contract going until 32, not a bad deal whatsoever. And I'm sure the last 2 years, yeah. So exactly. So it's one of those where after year 3 and 4, when he becomes 30, 31 years old, they could probably void it in the 5th year if they need to. So great signing there. Tackle Charlton's more of a depth signing. I don't really see Tackle Charlton actually making any productive minutes there. But when you're a team that made it to the Super Bowl, getting a guy who can maybe come in and play a role here and there, and add depth to your defensive line is not a bad thing. That's not shocking in the least. But yeah, yeah, exactly. Taco Charlton, again, another one of those first-round picks. We were just talking about earlier how first-round picks generally do not get a lot of, first-round picks are so highly coveted, and then people like Taco Charlton happen, where the Cowboys take a shot on him, and he ends up basically being a depth or defensive end. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those where I'm like, I guess the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day, so they don't really need to worry about being good, but your offensive line is obviously something that was a hindrance. So getting, cutting 2 tackles and signing 2 guards somehow fixes that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there, but yeah, it's an interesting signing. So.
Okay, great. I'm glad you were still on the part with the Chiefs, because the long signing, I'm sorry if I was listening, but I don't know if you went through this. Do you think they're projecting him to be starter or just simply depth?
I almost think they're going to try to start him. I really do. I think they're going to try to start him because he played at right guard, so he could slide over to right tackle. Yeah, that's what I think. I think they're going to try to start him either at right guard or right tackle.
Yeah, I don't think he would have signed there if he wasn't going to be starting either, to be honest with you.
Well, and that guard with 2 last names, the one who is a doctor, he should probably come back as a guard, and then they'll probably try to move him over right tackle and make that work. I don't think it's going to, because I don't think he's going to stay healthy the whole season. But I mean, here's the thing: there we go, Duvernay teared up. If he is healthy the whole season, then yeah, it's a great signing. But if he's not healthy the whole season, then you're basically taking a flyer on a guy who has never been healthy his entire life. So
a comment that I really resonated with was it's going to be very weird seeing Kyle Long in another team's IR list.
Yeah. I thought that was going to end with jersey number, jersey, and I was prepared for that, and then he hit me with that, and that caught me off guard. Yeah, that's straight up facts. But yeah, no, that's going to be shocking. All right, move on to the Raiders. Done with that. So Raiders, we got so John Brown, the guy I was talking crap about earlier with the Bills, gets signed with the Raiders right here. So I don't know how to, John Brown, hopefully he's a depth guy. The Raiders have been taking flyers on receivers the last few years, with Aguilar last year on a 1-year deal for $3 million. I don't know what they're doing. Go to a touchdown. Yeah, that's true. That's the one thing he's got. It's the one thing he's got in his arsenal. If he can find the end zone and he can actually finish the route and catch the ball and end up in the end zone, celebration game is on point. And then we re-sign Bully Incognito here to another deal. So I mean, he played really well. And then what are we going to? Oh boy. Great, now we're getting flagged.
Oh yeah. DMCA. No, it's gone. Too late. It wasn't there long enough.
You tried. Oh boy. All right, so yeah, Richie Incognito getting re-signed. Great, whatever. Great, I guess. I mean, and then he played well, but he's old, so is he going to keep up that production? I don't know. Yannick Ngakoue, that's a great signing for them, because when he's actually huh?
Yeah, I saw his age on when I was reading, and I blew my mind. Let me make sure. I googled incognito and it came up with the private browsing for Firefox. Thanks. I understand that.
Dylan, Richie Incognito. What? Yeah, Dylan, Richie Incognito was old when he was bullying that one guy.
That's what blew my mind. I thought he was younger. Was he one of those old college people?
I don't know. I think he's just been in the league forever and finally starting to really actually produce.
Wild.
Yeah. But anyways, Yannick Ngakoue, great signing, 26 million, 2 years. Yannick Ngakoue, when he actually wants to play for the team he's on, he actually can play very well. It's just getting him to actually want to be there is the issue. So evidently he wants to be there in Oakland. So good on them. Hopefully they get him back at his normal, level of play, because I think he's one of the better pass rushers in the league if he is playing well. And then Jonathan Hankins is a must resign for a depth guy as well as a really core to that defensive line. Solomon Thomas, Quentin Jefferson,
the only
Nicholas
player
Morrow.
better than Trubisky, Solomon Thomas.
Dude, the sad part of and I know that, like, looking back on the draft, hindsight's 2020, and everybody can look back and say, well, they should have drafted, so and so. I remember thinking, oh, we're gonna get Solomon Thomas at pick 3, or we were gonna get, which is funny because we were actually supposed to get Adams. We were supposed to get Adams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at mock drafts back then, and I actually thought he was going to be the pick because we needed a safety, because that's the year that we also drafted Eddie Jackson, but we drafted him later, like in the 3rd round. So right. We needed a safety, and I remember Adams being the top safety, and we had the 3rd overall pick. So I was like, oh, we're going to sign Adams and get this really, really talented safety. And, and then what happened.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
But anyways, yeah, Raiders are doing John Gruden things, so, whatever.
Grinders.
Exactly. Then we move on to the Chargers, who are a little bit more, this is an incredible signing and makes me laugh as a Bears fan because I get to just watch the Packers slowly get rid of players that are helpful to Aaron Rodgers. So Corey Linsley, great center for the Packers, goes over to the Chargers, who desperately needed offensive line help. So that's an incredible signing. And then maintaining a little bit by re-signing a corner as well as their kicker, who was pretty productive. So, and is young as well. So that's
shout out to confusing me about the running back Mike Davis when I saw the re-signing. I know, right? That. Which also a cool fact too that came up when I was listening on the radio. Corey Linsley was undrafted. Imagine going from undrafted to signing like a $63 million deal.
Yeah, that's great.
Crazy.
That's good for him, man. Good for him.
And who the hell is this?
Michael Badgley. He's like 26 years old, kicker. He's been somewhat productive. He has not been super consistent, but he's got a lot of talent and he kicks the ball super far. So guess what? We're going to keep re-signing him because, it's one of those where if he finally...
Take your shot.
Well, if he finally plays consistently, then you have a kicker who can kick the ball very far and consistently.
Yeah. And America's favorite team.
Shut up, Dylan. I hate that. I freaking hate that. I hate the Cowboys, but I guess we'll talk about them.
I don't know why they blew the cap space up with Andy Dalton's backup, but whatever. Fine.
God. All right. Anyways, Dak Prescott signing a four-year, $160 million deal, which, by the way, genius move by the Cowboys to basically give him $75 million of that contract in the first year. So, yeah, Dak isn't that bad of a downgrade. The funny part was I saw like trades that were happening after the Dak Prescott signing, and they were having Dak Prescott go to the Seattle for Russell Wilson, and I was like, why? I was like, why would they trade a quarterback they just re-signed for $160 million? That makes no sense. I mean, It's Jerry Jones, and I've never been a huge fan of Jerry Jones. I've never liked Jerry Jones because he always has like those shady freaking deals.
Yeah.
Where like he's just like playing his players, but yeah, they're big. Obviously, the big signing for the Cowboys is retaining Dak on a 4-year deal. Dak definitely deserved a deal. I mean, we could argue whether or not he is a quarterback that could win a Super Bowl with. I mean, haven't seen it yet, so can't really say yes. But one of those where I think that you could win a lot of games with him, and there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the league that you can do that or say that about. So, might as well keep a young, talented one when you can.
Yeah, especially if you want him to be able to literally carry your offense, and that's what you're going to rely upon, and you're not really going to shore up your defense. I mean, I guess they tried to here or whatever, but like their defense is trash. I mean, maybe since they got rid of who's the old corpse that we got rid of that sucks now. It's their defensive coordinator.
Oh,
you got to put your money where you expect to get like your beats filled, and that's going to be offense. So I get it. Yeah,
well,
I think it was Mike Nolan.
Well, and like I said, if you don't have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, you have to like after you get past like quarterback number 7 in the league, like everybody after that, like the drop off is severe. So like if you can get a quarterback who might be a top 10 quarterback in the league, sneaking in at like 9, 10 in the rankings potentially, in my opinion, you freaking might as well sign him, because if you don't have another option, I mean, you end up as the Bears. So we'll talk about that later again. My God, I just keep like hinting at it, but
yeah.
Oh God, just move on. Move on to the Giants. I don't know. Like, do the Giants want to get better? I don't like. Do they?
I don't know.
Like,
I think they're just fine.
Let's get a backup running back. Let's get John Ross, who wasn't successful for the Bengals, but he can run real fast. And then let's get yeah, I guess they could be landing Galladay, and that could be their big signing. I don't know. I just feel like the Giants aren't doing enough. I feel like the Giants are like, if you're gonna run with what's his name?
Saquon.
The quarterback. Jones.
Oh, Jones, yeah.
If you're gonna run with Jones as your quarterback, I feel like you have to do better. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Leonard Williams, extending him, that made sense to me because they traded for him. So why would you not extend him? If you didn't extend him, that would be more of like a that's Jaguars type decision. So I gotta do better. Hey, this is the Giants team that is, again, the Chicago Bears are taking opinions from. So this is not surprising that this is what they did with their offseason, and then we did what we did.
Yeah, they're just chilling. They don't really care. They're just going to roll him back out there again. Hopefully Saquon does cool things, get highlights, and
yeah, it's basically it. I mean, unless they get Kenny Galladay. I love the Eagles just have 0.
This is that's interesting. I did not know they did absolutely nothing.
Dylan, if you look at their cap, look at how much freaking money they have over the cap. It's ridiculous. They're not the Saints, but they're pretty close.
I guess it makes sense. They're not tracking cuts, which is all they've done. So
yeah, they have no money. So
sure. This one just came out.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. I also love, again, Ohio State boy. Shout out Curtis Samuel. Love Curtis Samuel. He was a really good wide receiver for Carolina. He just didn't get a lot of playing time compared to everybody else, and wasn't healthy fully. Oh yeah, Ertz being traded. I guess that's true. Yeah, Kyle Pitts. God, I love Kyle Pitts. When we talk about our when we analyze draft picks moving forward, because I definitely want to start going through position groups at some point in the podcast and scouting. Oh man, do I love Kyle Pitts. He's like the epitome of what you need in the modern NFL as a tight end wide receiver hybrid. He reminds me a lot of what I thought about Chase Claypool. Yeah. So yeah, he's exactly what I thought about Chase Claypool, because I felt like Chase Claypool was that wide receiver tight end hybrid. Chase Claypool was more on the wide receiver end of that, and that's why he's more of a wide receiver in the NFL now. But and Kyle Pitts will be more of a tight end aspect. But I mean, dude, it's like 6'6", 240, like running with wide receivers speed wise. Oh man, that is a whole lot to love about that guy. All right, but anyways, going back to the Washington football team, Curtis Samuel, great signing. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm assuming. I had texted you a while ago that I thought they were getting Trubisky. I could still see them getting Trubisky. Huh?
I really thought they were going to go Trubisky too.
Yeah, I could see them still getting him, but Ryan Fitzpatrick feels like a quarterback that they're bringing in to battle with whoever else they're going to bring in, whether it be a rookie quarterback that they're going to draft, aka Trey Lance, or are they going to make another move at quarterback? I don't know. It just kind of feels like they're getting a guy to compete. And then Lamar Miller is a decent backup running back. Brandon Sheriff getting him an extension after the franchise tag is crucial, because whatever quarterback they do bring in, aka Trey Lance, they should definitely protect. So getting Brandon Sheriff, who's one of the better guards in the league, that makes sense. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Hold the phone.
Actually looks like they did a lot here when you look at it like this.
Oh God. All right,
now this is the best part, is how close this was to Ryan Fitzpatrick's contract. Whether you think that's a better move, quick. I don't know.
You go ahead and keep talking. I'm going to pour this shot real quick. I need that to talk about this.
Well, okay, yeah. So I mean, like, initially, and I hear this a lot, like on the local radio as well, is like, hey, I would have loved to like get Fitzpatrick if we're going talking like similar money. He'd be more interesting to watch. He'd be more fun to watch. I get that. I think I'm in the same mindset too. During my acceptance stage of going through the many stages of grief, I can also see that you would want to go with Andy Dalton as a safer option and maybe someone that you hopefully could protect with like a Trent Williams. At least that's who you're trying to go for. Obviously, he's gone now. If you were trying to go into, putting a good offensive line behind him, and maybe it can actually work out. And I was thinking, like, hey, the Cowboys have a great offensive line. And I watched a little bit last year, but looking at it, they were decimated and basically on their third backups. Most of the time, Andy Dalton was starting, even though they have a loaded offense, even though their skill players are insane. And he still put up, I think it was 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and okay yards, whatever. He was playing garbage time a lot of the time, yada, yada, yada. I just hope that maybe he is a stable position and like a super game manager that they can actually protect, and maybe it'll work out. But I was thinking like, hey, yeah, the Cowboys have a great offense and he sucked ass there, so like he's going to be terrible here. Hopefully it's not the case. What do you think about that?
Okay. All right. So in this organization, for the duration of my lifespan, which has not been long, but has been long enough to realize how unbelievably this organization has been run, I can't. I'm so annoyed. I'm so angry. I'm so disappointed. I'm so frustrated with everything. Just the simple fact that this team, this organization, and these two men, like, I don't want to see Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's smug freaking faces at a press conference ever again in my life. Like, I hope to God, I told my dad, if they do a press conference with Andy Dalton, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna freaking lose it. And I was like,
They're going to. They have to. You know that.
I can't watch it, Dylan. I can't do it. I've already watched all of them. I watched them lie to us in this stupid Zoom thing where freaking Ted Phillips read like a freaking pamphlet about being a better president, but then threw the pamphlet out.
The favorite part on ESPN 1000, they always play the clip, especially they played it a lot today, that was like, have we won a lot of games? No. Have we gotten the quarterback position right? No. Is everything else there? Pretty much. They play that one all the time. That's awesome. Bears are competing with the Boylan era Bulls for bad press conferences. Yeah.
It's unbelievably true. Then he had the balls to say I forgot what idiot said it. We have a culture that everybody else wants in the NFL. I think it was Ryan Pace. And I just sat there and stared because I remember like a week ago hearing Trubisky say that we don't yet have a championship culture in this locker room. And then Ryan Pace, literally less than a week later, is like, we have a culture that every team wants in the NFL. I hate it. I freaking hate that. I hate this team. I hate that I'm a fan. I'm going to sit on the couch. I'm going to watch Andy Dalton win 6 games. God.
6 games? Wow.
Man. We have a quarterback who sucked last year for the Cowboys, getting paid $3 million last year. We pay him 10. Then we have a wide receiver who we franchise tag because we didn't extend him like the idiots we are, and now he's pissed off at us. Doesn't even want to sign the friggin' tag. Then we have Jermaine Ifedi, who failed at being a right tackle in Seattle, but hey, let's sign him for a 1-year deal back at right tackle again for $5 million.
Yeah,
like. God, I hate this team. Like the best signing on this list that I'm looking at right now is Kairos freaking Santos.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, you can't be upset about that one. That's good to see. Yeah, he's a penalty machine and like worth up to $5 million. I want to know the guarantees on that, but like, God damn it.
Oh God, I like the specialty. Like, and we're not even going to bring Cordell Patterson back.
I know. I was curious to hear what you thought about that too, because he still hasn't gone anywhere, and obviously loves special teams. But
yeah, but like, what we just spent $10 million on it. We're talking about cutting Kyle Fuller because we don't have the money. Like, oh God, I hate this team. I hate this team.
They're done now. They had to get under the cap. They're not going to cut him anymore. They don't need to. Kyle Fuller is here to stay.
Dylan, that doesn't make me feel any better.
All right, the team that you have right now is who you're going into the beginning of the season with. Boom. Now you feel better. There goes your reverse offense, which is like 70% of your rushing game. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Bubble screens, bubble screens, bubble screens.
Oh, I hate us.
Deep shot.
Oh, God.
Deep shot overthrow.
If we can play the pass, I think I'll take a shot. I'll take a shot every time we complete a pass over 50 yards.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did it happen this year? Like twice?
Yeah. I'm so disappointed. I hate
Oh, you're like,
I hate this again. I'm gonna be here on the couch every single week with my stupid Mac jersey on. I'm gonna be rooting for the Bears and be like, let's go, we got this, we can win. And then I'm gonna watch the first half and I'll be slightly excited for the second half. And the second half's gonna come and friggin' Andy Dalton's gonna throw a pick into like triple coverage to Darnell Mooney, and then like I'm gonna like then the screen is gonna pan over to freaking Nick Foles standing on the bench, and then it's gonna pan over to Matt Nagy's face of just utter like shock because he has no idea what the hell he's doing. And it's just like I'm watching it happen
with the clown makeup on. Like, here I go again.
That's what it is.
Put my Mac jersey on. Let me get my Bears nachos out. Yay.
God, why?
Recovered from a pandemic, hopefully. Here we go, celebrating the world. And what hasn't changed? This team.
You know what's sad too is my dad actually said to me, and I agreed with him, that if Russell Wilson actually got traded to the Bears, that me and him would both have a Russell Wilson jersey the first day of opening day of the Bears. And I was like, can't wait. I got so hyped that one day when the freaking Vegas changed all the odds and stuff, and
yeah, they absolutely made bank on a bunch of dumbass Bears fans like us. So good for them.
God, I hate it.
They made so much bank on that.
I hate us, but I also hate Pete Carroll for destroying that deal.
Yeah.
I just can't.
They weren't gonna. I don't know. They, especially at that point, they're not gonna rebuild. I mean, like, even as an owner, how can you approve that?
No. And you know what's gonna happen too? Is exactly 2 times 2. You know what's gonna happen, Dylan, is we're gonna go. I mean, there's 17 games next year, so we're probably gonna go 7-10, and then we're gonna have like a top 10 pick, but it's gonna be like pick 8 or pick 7, so nothing that's like right in there for like an actual like game-changing quarterback. And then what's gonna happen is Andy Dalton's contract's will be up, he'll leave. They'll probably cut Foles, and then we're gonna end up with like some I probably trade up. I don't even know. But what's gonna happen is everybody's gonna get fired. Like, you do realize, Dylan, that at one point the Bears had. The sad part is like, you know, the GM Chris Ballard for the Colts.
Yeah, he was gonna come here.
Yeah, do you know why we turned him down?
The money?
No, part of the reason why we turned him down is because in the interview, Chris Ballard said, I was about to get that in a second. Chris Ballard said that he didn't want Ted Phillips anywhere near football operations, and then McCaskey said, all right, this interview's over. And that's what happened.
Infuriating. Like, as a professional adult to do that.
And then we could have had Brazilians, but why in God's name would we get a good coach? I hate us.
Silence.
All right, hold on. Moment of silence.
Quotes of the year is a good way to put it. Yeah.
So Detroit, interesting. We talked about the Jared Goff trade. Helps them kind of jump into a quick rebuild with a new coach and staff. Jared Goff, I mean, you basically get a quarterback that if he pans out, great. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Plus, you got a bunch of picks. That was a great trade for them. And they get Jamal Williams, who was very productive for the Packers. Tyler Williams, very productive for the Raiders. Again, it's just really seeing if they basically Jamal Williams and Tyler Williams are there to basically see if Jared Goff can become something. If not, then all of them leave with their contracts and that's it. So
hopefully they'll still lose to the Bears twice a year. Like, that's just
I actually think they're going going to beat us this year, which is the saddest thing I think I've ever said in my life. But anyways, Michael Brockers also, interesting pickup for them. But moving on to the Packers, the team that's going to beat us twice next year by 20 or 30 points. Aaron Jones re-signed to them. That's huge for them. They did lose Jamal Williams, but they get Aaron Jones back. So, he kind of took a little bit of a hometown discount. So good for them.
So interesting for them to do that. I can't believe Aaron Jones actually went back there. Like, good for them, but
he took a hometown discount. That's why. But
you have AJ Dillon. He's supposed to be the guy,
Yeah. Listen, I don't
Ridiculous.
know. We could spend a lot of time on the Packers talking about what the hell they did the last 2 years, but Vikings, they're a team. All right, so moving on.
Like, nothing fun here. Yeah, really.
It's just the Vikings.
Patrick Peterson was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. I didn't even realize Patrick Peterson left, but okay.
That was a new one.
All right. Next, Atlanta Falcons. Okay, next team, Carolina Panthers. What did they do? I mean,
yeah, Lee Smith. Tell me all about Lee Smith. Where did he go to college? Where is he projected?
I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure I don't know.
Yeah, nobody cares.
By the way, I do want to comment really quickly on the fact what that guy said. So Brockers did say in a quote that he was glad to get Stafford because it was an upgrade over Goff, and then he got traded into Goff.
That was so good.
It's a very Lions. That's very Lions. It's within their what they've built. So
for a seventh, you have to wonder if the GM's just trolling.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Carolina Panthers. They're obviously not happy with Teddy Bridgewater, but they go ahead and franchise tag their really good right tackle Moton, who's super young, 26 years old. Pat Neiflin, who's a good pickup for them at guard. That kind of helps their offensive line a little bit. Perryman is good. Hassan Reddick is a good signing for them. That gives them the opportunity to basically give Hassan Reddick the opportunity to play meaningful minutes and see what he can do. The other two guys, just backups. Saints, the post-Breeze era, don't have a ton of money whatsoever. So what do? They franchise tag Marcus Williams, who's a very young 24-year-old safety who's really good and up and coming. So they got to keep him. Jameis Winston, they're basically they have so much money over the cap that Jameis Winston was like the best case scenario for them because he was literally the best quarterback that they could get that was cheap. And they were able to do, so that's what they do. So
perfect passer rating in a playoff game, by the way. Don't forget about that.
That is shocking. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if the Saints are going to really be anything this year. I feel like they're going to win probably 9 games this year and be a fringe playoff team. But yeah. So
and forget about the extra wild card spot as well. And also, it's not listed in here, but of course the meme machine.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, Hill with his 5-year extension, but all void years.
5-year extension, an extension,
and the Super Bowl champions.
Oh yeah, the rich just staying rich, and Chris Brown is back. Everybody's back. Everybody's happy. Super Bowl number 2 coming on the way. All right, let's move on to the next. I mean, really, they're probably the favorites. Okay. So here we go. We'll spend a little bit more time than just the speed run that I went through because of the fan. So I love, honestly, what the Cardinals have done in this offseason because I think they've made a lot of great I think they've made a lot of great signings, honestly, for a team that's very young and building around Kyler Murray, who I really like. So AJ Green's a solid receiver to pick up. Larry Fitzgerald, I believe, is still a free agent. I don't know if he's retired yet or not. I'm sure the Cardinals fan probably can give me a little update on that. But AJ Green, if you can get some production out of him, he's a great wide receiver to have there to help out. Yeah, Robert Alford, you're kind of like, I don't know what's happening there. But getting Rodney Harrison on a trade for a freaking 3rd round selection is not bad at all, considering Rodney Hudson when he's actually playing well. So not retired yet. So he's basically waiting to see if he gets another deal, probably from Arizona, I would assume, and he'll probably get a cheap deal. But Rodney Hudson's a great center when he's healthy and playing well, so that's a great signing for them to help bolster that offensive line as well, because they just extended their left tackle a year ago. You get Beachum in there again. It's another good tackle that could play some meaningful minutes, but also gives them a little bit of depth and flexibility for injuries. Marcus Golden's another good re-signing. He was pretty productive for them. Obviously, JJ Watt's huge for them because if he's healthy and actually, I think if he's utilized, like I said, when JJ Watt got signed initially and that nose broke and we did our podcast after, I said that basically I think JJ Watt could be a situational player that plays that third down pass rush, as well as, comes in on obvious pass rushing situations to kind of help out. He's a good run stopper, but I don't want him in on more run stopping plays because I'd rather utilize his skills in the pass rush. It's curious to see if that's what they'll do with him. If they do that with him, I think that he'll be utilized to his maximum effectiveness. But nonetheless, it's a great signing for them, especially a defense that was young, up and coming. They got one of my favorite players in the draft that I've ever seen in my life last year, which was Isaiah Simmons. And they kind of didn't even know really where to use Isaiah Simmons last year, simply because he's like a defensive end linebacker safety hybrid. But they kind of used him as like a cover linebacker / like safety on like dime coverages and stuff. And I think when they figure out more situations to use him in, he'll be utilized to his full potential, which he is one of the best. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Isaiah, what did I just say? Isaiah
Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons is it's being handed like a player that like is like a no joke Pro Bowl All Pro player, and then just kind of not knowing what to do with him was kind of how that felt last year. But so they have so much upside, so much potential. There's a lot of good things happening, and I'd be curious to see what they do with their draft pick. I'll have to go through my next mock draft and see. They have it's not a very high pick, but I'm pretty sure it's in the teens. See, I feel like I don't want to say Super Bowl bust this year, only because this year feels like
I say divisional round this year.
I say they're looking for making I think your peak this year. I think honestly, as a Cardinals fan, I think you're happy if you end up in the AFC Championship. Or NFC Championship, right? Because they're in the NFC. I never remember freaking conferences like an idiot. Yeah. But if they end up in the championship, I think that's a great sign, because then I think the next year you make a couple more signings, couple more draft picks, and then you're there. I feel like this year is a great building year for them. I feel like this is it was a great signing period where they didn't spend too much. They didn't, break the bank, but they did get a lot of players that are going to help them take that next step. And then I think the next step after that, we'll see how they do next offseason. And I think that'll tell whether or not they're Super Bowl contenders next year.
Yeah.
So
you also talked about AJ Green, right?
Yeah. I said AJ Green's a good, if he's healthy and productive, he's a good wide receiver to have on the roster because he's very situational. You can use him in the red zone. He's also, when healthy and playing at his best, he's a good safety valve receiver for a quarterback. So that's also helpful. And they kind of don't really have height on that roster. Christian Kirk is only 6'1". Isabella is like 5'9".
Murray's 4'11".
Shut up.
You started out with saying they didn't have height. Where did you think that was going to go?
I was going to the wide receivers, Dylan. I was not trying to poke at
right. Of course.
Well, anyways, I think Christian Kirk's like their tallest receiver besides Larry Fitzgerald, who is a free agent at the moment. So we'll see if they bring him back. I think they do on a 1-year deal. But regardless, out of their starting receivers who play very meaningful minutes, they really don't have a lot of height in the red zone. And so I think that is basically where AJ Green comes into play.
And to be fair, and just make it clear.
Oh, yeah. Stephen Tollings, the running back who was like 5'6" or 5'5". He was actually kind of fun to watch. He was very not as talented as Tariq Cohen, but he was a very Tariq Cohen-esque player.
Yeah. Same thing though. I always liked watching Russell Wilson play for the longest time because I thought he was really fun to watch, and obviously the comparison's always to Kyler Murray in the same way. Same thing, super fun to watch. I like watching Cardinals games
a lot because Kyler Murray doesn't run recklessly like I think a Cam Newton did for most of his career, or like a Lamar Jackson kind of does. where like Lamar Jackson, yeah, he's too quick at this point, so he's really not taking those hits. But like Kyler Murray has played, he does remind me a lot of Russell Wilson, and I know that that's a big thing to say. Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson and stuff like that, who don't really slide, who kind of take the hits, and when Lamar Jackson slows down even slightly, he's going to start taking those hits. Whereas I think at least Kyler Murray is trying. I think he develops into the Russell Wilson where you see him running only when it's necessary. And when he does run, he utilizes it to its max and ends up getting down or getting out of bounds, Okay, moving on to the Rams. They get Matthew Stafford. We already talked about how that's an upgrade for them. That makes them a legitimate offensive team and a legitimate team next year for potentially a championship as well as maybe even Super Bowl contention. We'll see. I mean, they do have to compete with the Bucs, but I think it at least makes them interesting because Matthew Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. Just played on a very bad team for so long that people forgot about how talented he is, and so that's interesting. Leonard Floyd is just
dude. What the fuck with this signing?
It's because he went off last year and had a bunch of sacks, but I mean,
dude, I can roll out there and I'll get a couple sacks for Aaron Donald's up in the middle.
Floyd. Yeah.
Like you could have put the Scarecrow out there, he still would have gotten stats. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe they signed him to that.
I don't know. Literally, I can sum that up with, I don't know. I guess
yeah, here we go again. Like the Rams are spending a shit ton of money, and let's see how far they get in the playoffs. Like
I'm glad we're not the team doing that. At least that's the one feather in the cap the Bears I can put.
Yeah.
All right. Next. 49ers. Kyle Juszczyk, bringing him back. Obviously, he's a big part of that defense, whether it be just being a leader in the locker room and everything. Trey Williams, is wild that they brought him back from this because he's like 33 years old. So that's literally going to take him until he's 40.
I mean,
what they did was they signed him until he retires. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Whitworth is still 38 or something, right? 39.
He's up there, yeah, but. And basically, it's they signed him until he retires. That's really it. If he retires early and the contract's done earlier, they could care less. Alex Mack, really good, talented center, veteran guy who's been super good if he's healthy. So that's really them hoping as long as he's healthy, he'll be productive. And it brings the reconnection back from the Falcons with Shanahan, where he was there before. So Shanahan knows him, likes him. So that's not surprising. Samson, God, I cannot pronounce his last name, signing a 2-year deal. That's a good signing for them. It's another good coverage linebacker. Mosley, bringing him back was good. And then Jason Verrett bringing him back as well. Just kind of keeping that corner stacked, considering they're losing Richard Sherman. Seahawks, I just saw Gerald Everett come around earlier today. That's obviously in the post-trade fell-through era where they're now actually going to try to help Russell Wilson out a little bit, maybe. Gabe Jackson acquired in a trade is interesting because he's a good player. He's not spectacular, but at least he gives them some kind of help on the offensive line. I feel like I don't know what the Seahawks are going to do moving forward because with Russell Wilson, like you're keeping a quarterback. Like I know you don't want to rebuild Pete Carroll, but like keeping Russell Wilson, who's not super happy at 32 years old, yeah, like it's just I don't know what you're doing. Like do you want just a angry quarterback for the next 2-3 years before like you have to do something with him? I don't know. But
Una Ford.
Yeah, it's nose tackle.
Top tier name, A-tier name signing. Good job, Seahawks.
He's a pretty good nose tackle, honestly. He should. It's a little bit too much money, probably, but yeah, he's a good nose tackle. All right.
That's literally every team.
At least we went through free agency. Yeah, we gotta. A lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff went down. Then we got to move on to the next topic. I want to actually move on to the golf. Let's hit up some golf real quick because I'm actually excited about this person.
Oh yeah.
Basically, this video is looking at a player because we're trying to expand. We're trying to become a little bit more fluent in actual, things that are happening in the sports world. So, in golf is one of the things that I enjoy playing. You enjoy playing. So why don't we watch a golfer who has been making a ton of noise the last 2 years in Bryson DeChambeau. Love that name too. So he is called the golfing scientist, at least that's his nickname. The reason why is because he actually has basically taken a look at the game of golf and his own swing and basically looked at it analytically for what it is and eliminated as many possibilities for error as he could in the swing in order to make it as as repeatable, I guess I'll say, as possible. So if you want to go hit play, and we'll just watch this as we go.
Hello, everyone.
So basically,
Gary
what he
Beans here
highlights
from the
is
Gary
what you're
Beans
looking at
Golf
is
Academy.
his butt and backside should not go past that yellow line, really. And the reason why is because you don't want to get your body too out of it. You want to keep very straight in your swing. Your hips, his hips are going to be moving, which is interesting. That's part of. So the old golf thing was all about rotation and rotating your basically your arms, everything in your body and your core kind of stays still, and your hips move a little bit to kind of help with the motion, but really it's about rotating your arms in a very swift and clean manner. You can go ahead and just hit play and let it play out. Anyways, what he does really well is you'll watch his head stays on the ball and in basically a box if you're looking directly at him. And then what happens is as he goes back, watch the club go up this line and does not move. And this is called it's kind of called and I learned about this because I was watching videos on this. It's called a one plane swing, where basically he doesn't cross that line. He's always on that one side of the line. He does not move. He follows it, and then watch him follow it back through, straight through. And just watch his hips are cocked back a little bit, and his stance is a little wider. And then what he does is he follows that line all the way down. His hips are rotated at the point of where the club hits the ball. The ball is very squarely hit off of the club and hits a little divot in as well, which is it's a perfect swing on the iron. And what he's kind of done to revolutionize golf, which is interesting, is he's, like I said, he looked at his swing very analytically, where if you look earlier in his career, he's very rotational with just his arms kind of rotating through the swing. But what he did was he adjusted it where he put on 40 pounds of muscle and weight over probably a 6 to 8 month period from what I read. And what he did he put on a ridiculous amount of muscle. He kind of like came back jacked after like the 6 to 8 month period. And what he did was he changed the swing to where his stance is a little wider, and he gets his hips way more involved, where his swing and his hips all the way through. And that's really where the power is coming through. And so the swing, what it does though, is if you look at this part right here, if it's paused, is you see his shoulder dip down a little bit. So because of the dip down in his shoulder, it allows him to only have so very like small ability to move with his torso. And when you do that, it allows for basically a very small room for error or change in repetition based on the swing. So he's able to kind of he's basically doing things like planting his right heel and right foot into the ground and kind of pushing the inside of the foot down into the ground. And what he's doing is he's basically eliminating any movement that he could have potentially in his torso as well as in his legs, and keeping it very straight and allowing him to have the least room for error, so that way the swing is the most repeatable and most repetitive that he could every single time. Now, what that does for him too, and what he also did to help with that, is he also did something interesting, which typically your irons all have different lengths in your golfing bag, and all of the irons have different lengths based on distances where you want to hit them, how hard you're hitting them, the swing you're doing, whatever. What he did is he changed all of the lengths to be the equivalent of whatever the 7 iron length was, and made all of them the same. The reason why he made all of them the same is so that way every single time he swings the club, they're all exactly the same. And the reason why is so that way his swing is the most repeatable, and again, the most repetitive that he can make it, so that way there's very little room for error. And so that's another interesting thing he did. He also put the largest grips that he could on all of the clubs, again, for higher grips, again, trying to eliminate as many rooms for error as he possibly can. And so that's really what he's done with this swing. Now, what's that done for him as in the golf world? If you want to just pull up his PGA Tour, or not PGA Tour, but his PGA profile, basically what's that done for him is if you looked at his earlier career, I think his average drives were around 300, 305, somewhere in that range where it was a little bit lower. And what it really did for him, though, I think whatever PGA event it was, he's been averaging like near 350-yard drives. So just like unbelievable driving distance that like literally I jokingly call him like he's becoming like the Happy Gilmore of golf because he's actually getting closer and closer to 400. His farthest drive, I think, in the last tournament that he did was like 376, if I remember correctly. Which is just unbelievable. Yeah, his driving distance standard's 320. That's because he's had a couple misfires that are lower, but yeah, he went from like I forget where he was. He was in like the 30s consistently, ranking wise, as far as drive. And then he put on like 40 pounds of muscle, changed his swing, and came back. And now he's first in drives.
Eagles as well.
Well, and that comes with the drive being as ridiculous as it is.
Oh,
but yeah,
that's very interesting.
It's interesting. So he has 8 career wins. He has actually 2 this year: the U.S. Open and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So he's making a lot more headway this year than he has in the past. He did win, I believe, 2 in 2020 as well. But yeah, so he's really coming on, and he's really a guy that everybody should pay attention to because he's really challenging the kind of what's it called, the old ways of golf, like the old ways that they used to teach you how to swing, where it's again very rotational with your arms and everything like that, and really not getting the hips involved too much because you want to keep your core and body kind of sturdy. And so he's really kind of changing that and challenging that kind of idea, and he's, I think, bringing in basically a new kind of concept to a swing in golf. And I think he's kind of the pioneer of that, and it's working to his benefit because he is winning and he is doing it in style and driving the ball a mile.
Impressive record and turnaround.
Yep.
Oh, he's a physics major.
Yeah, that's why he's called. That's why he's called the golfing scientist. Is because not only has he changed his game to be very like analytical and looking at what he does and repetition and all that stuff, but he's also, he predicated himself very much on like the details and the science of it.
Oh, I like that. That's a different approach. That's new. Yep.
It's he's a very fun golfer to watch, and he's got a great personality from what I gathered just watching a couple of videos with him. He seems like a good guy, so he's definitely a guy that you could definitely root for when you're watching golf. And just another player I wanted to highlight last week was I think Colin Morikawa, and this week is Bryson DeChambeau. Okay, so and then I think we can move on to March Madness real quick. I think we could probably end there. So that's about to start.
Yeah, I've got your bracket up.
Okay, so this is my official, like, the bracket I'm going with and I feel the most confident with. So what I did is I'm gonna go through, and yeah, there's a lot of chalk this year, but a lot of it is the reason why is because it's so hard to analyze these teams with the conditions that they played in, as well as just the very few games they played. And it's hard to gauge a lot of these teams that are kind of in the ranking like 6 on. So we start out on the top left, going down the screen for the first round. Gonzaga obviously a shoe-in to win that game over the 16 seed Norfolk. I got Missouri. You could say upsetting Oklahoma because they're a seed lower, but I think Missouri is just the better team, or will play better, I think, defensively against Oklahoma. So that's who I'm going with. Creighton, I think, is going to run away with this game. Virginia, I think, coming off of disappointing tournament runs the last few years, will win this game and move on to the second round. USC, I think, will beat Wichita State. Kansas, obviously, I think they're going to win. Oregon, I think, will win against VCU. VCU is a strong upset candidate here, but I do think that Oregon will pull it out, so that's who I have winning. Then I have Iowa winning this game against Grand Canyon. Moving on to the next category, that's School Up North. I have them winning against Mount St. Mary's. I have LSU over St. Bonaventure. I think LSU is just playing better. Then here comes my 5-12 upset. So I think this is the 5-12 upset that I think is the most likely, and the reason why is because I think Colorado has been a little disappointing as of late, whereas Georgetown, I think, has been playing super well as of late. And coming off of a Big East tournament championship run, they're kind of on a high. And usually teams coming off of a high of their championship run in their tournament walk into the first round of the tournament and play very well. So I think that's where the upset's going to happen. Then I think Florida State over Greensboro is a shoo-in. Another upset alert here. I think Michigan State is going to shock BYU. I think Michigan State's a really good team that's just played very inconsistently. But I think if this game goes right, which I think it will, I think Michigan State comes into this game, rights the ship, and plays to their potential and upsets BYU here. I know BYU played very well in their conference championship against Gonzaga and only lost by 10 points to a number 1 seed that a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to pick to win. But I think that BYU gets shocked here by Michigan State playing very consistently, very well, and coming off of kind of a disappointing regular season, wanting to make a little bit more noise in the tournament. Texas comes in, wins this one. UConn, I think, wins against Maryland, although Maryland might upset them. So that's another one that I would like to pay attention to because I think that's another chance of an upset there. Alabama, I think, wins that one very easily. Going into the first round on the right side, Baylor wins that one very easily. North Carolina, I think, pulls it out over Wisconsin. I think they're just the better team. Villanova beats Winthrop. I think they're, again, the better team. Not really worried about that 5-12 upset at all. Purdue over North Texas. Texas Tech, I think, pulls it out. Arkansas, I think, wins. Florida wins. Ohio State wins. So that one's very chalk. The better team wins pretty much all the way down the line there. And then I think Illinois wins very clearly. Loyola Chicago, I think, pulls it out against Georgia Tech. Tennessee wins over Oregon State. Oklahoma State beats Liberty. And then I think Syracuse goes in and upsets San Diego State. I don't know why. That's kind of more of I'm just kind of throwing a little bit of what am I feeling into this one. So that's an upset that I don't really know. I'm not going to endorse it, but I did pick it. So, there it is.
I believe in it, damn it.
Exactly. So then we have West Virginia over Morehead State, and then Houston over Cleveland State. And then moving into the second round, Gonzaga handedly beats Missouri. I think Virginia beats Creighton because I don't think Creighton's that good. USC, I think, upsets Kansas. Kansas has been a little disappointing this year in times where I think they could have been better. So I really think that this is where Kansas drops the ball again and doesn't play well, and then USC ends up winning. I believe Iowa runs away with this one against Oregon. I think that School Up North runs away with that one against LSU. Florida State beats Georgetown. Georgetown does get the upset in the first round, but I think the second round's where they kind of fizzle out. They kind of shot their load for a better, for lack of a better term. And so I think they fizzle out and Florida State wins that one. Texas beats Michigan State. Again, same kind of concept. Michigan State kind of, does their all in the first game to pull the upset out, but then loses to a much better team. And then Alabama wins because I think they're just a better team. Baylor wins over North Carolina. Villanova, I think, will upset Purdue. In this one, it's a 5-4 upset, so it's not crazy, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think Texas Tech, though, upsets Arkansas. I do like Arkansas, and I think they're playing well. I just don't know if they're good enough to continue to win in the tournament, and I think they're going to lose here against Texas Tech. And then I think Ohio State very clearly wins against Florida. Illinois, I think, will dominate Loyola Chicago. Oklahoma State on the kind of reins of Cade Cunningham will end up beating Tennessee. And then I think Syracuse is, again, same concept with Michigan State and Georgetown before them, ends up doing everything they can in the first round, and that kind of their energy is gone in the second. So West Virginia wins. And then I think Houston, who's playing super well this year, ends up winning that one. Moving on to the Elite, not Elite 8. Sorry. Sweet 16. Moving on to the Sweet 16, we have Gonzaga over Virginia. Gonzaga is just one of the better teams in the league. I think they're honestly, one of the best teams in the league. So I think they're just going to win that game. Iowa, I think, is also in that category too, where they're just playing super well. School Up North is just also one of those better teams. So they're going to win against Florida State. I think Texas upsets Alabama. I think that's going to be a little bit of a shocker if it does happen, especially because Alabama is playing so well this year. But I do think that Texas pulls out the upset. And then I think Baylor beats Villanova very handedly. Ohio State beats Texas Tech very handedly. Illinois, Cade Cunningham's not enough. And I think Illinois, the better complete team, ends up beating them. And then I think Houston, the better team, beats West Virginia. The Elite Eight, we have Gonzaga versus Iowa. I think Gonzaga is better than Iowa if I were to line these two teams up today. So that's why I'm picking that regardless of what happened before. And then I think that School North will beat Texas because, again, same concept as the first game. I think they're just better. Baylor versus Ohio State. I think Ohio State would be a 1 seed if it wasn't for Illinois. So in that kind of spirit, I think they're going to be upsetting Baylor here and making it to the Final Four. Illinois is my favorite to win, so I'm having them pull the win out over Houston. I think it's a close game, but I think they end up winning over Houston. Now, your Final Four, not very shocking, not very surprising, not very much happening, super exciting, whatever. But I think it is kind of at least a little fun because you get to see two incredible matchups if this does end up coming to, which is Gonzaga versus that School of North playing, which are two of the better teams in the country playing against each other. That would be a game to watch and would be awesome to watch. So I'm hoping that does happen. And then Illinois versus Ohio State, got to have the rematch of the conference championship, which ended in overtime with a 2-point victory to Illinois. So I'd love to see that rematch and see how it comes out on top. Now, I do think that the two clearly best teams in the nation right now do come out on top, in my opinion, in this tournament. And so you see Gonzaga versus Illinois in the championship, which I think Illinois pulls out the win. And I have the score at 84-81. And that is where I think that is going to go. And this is my main one. This is the bracket I think is going to happen, at least the most likely to. And I really, really think Illinois feels like the best team in the nation. And then the other thing, too, with Illinois, which is kind of hard to explain, but if you're a sports fan, I'm sure you get it, is in the end, in Major League Baseball, too, you kind of feel it, where there's like this magic about the team where they are just going on this magical run. And it just feels right. And that's how I feel about Illinois. I just feel like they're going on this magical run, and I feel like they're going to win it. So anything that shocks you in that? Anything you want to highlight? Or
I don't know. I don't follow college basketball other than fill out brackets. And obviously went to Illinois for a little bit. So, I mean, go them. Pretty much where I'm at with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. This year, well, and this year too is one of the hardest years to, like, if you haven't followed college basketball this year, you probably didn't follow much either because it's been such a weird year. So yeah, it's hard. Like I said, this year's so hard because typically you get a little bit of a beat on teams. So like those 5-10, those 5-12 upsets, kind of like make sense. Like, for example, like one of the most perfect examples is like Marquette against Murray State. Murray State at the time had the point guard for Memphis. I cannot remember his freaking name to save my life. But anyways, they had the point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA right now, who was clearly one of the best players in college basketball and was the point guard, which guards usually play very well in the tournament. I didn't see it. I thought Marquette, who had Marcus Howard at the time, who was a point guard who scored like 30 a game, I thought he was going to be able to pull it out, but it turned out that they won. But at least that year, you saw that 12-ranked team had an NBA player on their team at the point guard position, which is crucial, and you felt like they were going to win or they had a chance to. This year, it's so hard because I don't know any of these teams very well because it's just I wasn't able to watch a ton. Like, I just don't know. I don't know them well enough to be like, hey, I think that they actually are going to win it because of this,
Yeah, no, same thing. I was even thinking about that. I was like, oh, it's going to be really cool to see like a tournament. It'd be really exciting. Still, without fans, it's going to be really weird.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, even if there's like a complete like buzzer beater, it'll just be like, yay.
Well, that's the other thing too, is it's like when you as a player hit your second 3 in a row or third 3 in a row, like the crowd you feel that energy. Not only do you feel that energy, but you feel it inside you, like, oh, I'm heating up kind of thing. And then you feel the crowd with you on that. it changes how you play, and it changes kind of the energy you have. So I'm really curious to see, like, at the end of games, how these games go. Like, our team's going to have the energy to, like, compete with a team that, like, is a team that's not as good going to have the energy to compete with a team that's better than them if they don't have the crowd energy rolling with them, hoping for the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would probably follow similar to your bracket because it seems like the higher seeds always make it to the end, like no matter what, even if you get a fun upset in the beginning, like first round, but eventually, they always get churned out. They always get filtered out, so it's the top seeds left.
Well, and it's only like the Wichita States of like 2013 or the Kemba Walker UConn teams. Like, those are the only teams that, like, are like, when Kemba Walker was on UConn when they were a 9 seed, like, those are the only teams that make it to the championship, is because they have a player that is clearly better than everybody else in the country or is just going off. And I don't really know any teams that have that. Like, yeah, Oklahoma State down in the bottom right has Cade Cunningham, who's the best player in the country. Yeah, like I said, it's Illinois. To me, just feels like it's the team. Like, it feels like Illinois is that team that is just going to, like, not only do they have an all-around great team, but they also have the players that step up and make the shots. And I think that's just, like, they just feel magical for me. So I think Illinois is going to win it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just with them because, like, again, I don't know anything else. I went there. That's cool. I'm excited to have something to watch that seems somewhat fun and important and also short. I don't care about basketball right now. I could give a shit about baseball, unfortunately, and hockey not really either. At least this is like ground down into a couple of weeks is like a fun little tournament. So
Yep. It's definitely not only something to watch, but it's a little bit of excitement to kind of spark or spike or spice up the monotony of everyday, going through COVID. I think this is kind of at least something that's fun, that kind of ignites everything. And it's also something that you can do, like, you don't have to do with, like, you can do with other people, but don't have to be in the same room to do. So it's like, it's nicer that way because it's like kind of fits right now. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to starting it out. It'll be fun. If there's any like crazy upsets, maybe there'll be memes and things to follow anyways. So that's always fun. It's just a content source. It's off season for anything else I actually care about a lot. So I'm excited for it. Gambling. Woo.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know. That's what I already made a huge bet, so we'll see. Thanks, everybody that's been listening, and again, we'll be right back here next week, hopefully with less disappointing Bears news.
We're going to be talking about the Deshaun Watson trade and the Nick Foles trade to get him out of the Bears team.
Yeah,
who's great.
Who
can't wait for next Wednesday.
Oh God! All right.
No, honestly, the thing we're probably going to be talking about is, I mean, let's be realistic at this point. They're going to draft a quarterback. I think they're probably going to trade up. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
and the draft is not that far away.
Look out for my mock draft, because I'm going to come out with another mock draft. I think it's time, with all free agency moves done for the first wave. I think that's the perfect time to start speculating on what the draft will look like. So that'll be something to look forward to next week.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm just sold on Mac Jones now because we spent time to review his film. So I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yep.
Mock trial with Jet Reinhold. Yeah. Have you watched Arrested Development?
No.
Oh, you should put it on your list to binge watch. It's a great binge watch. It's only 3 seasons.
What is it called?
Arrested Development.
Oh, okay.
You'll probably love it. It's like literally a show you could watch like 8 different times and you always pick up something different. Great.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's to look forward to, but thanks for listening and everybody, and we're gonna have to sign off here. This is my name is Sad Disappointed Dylan.
And I'm also Dylan. Acceptance.
Yeah, and this was the Dylan and Dylan podcast.
Good night.